Hi, everybody. It's Ira here from North Shore Digital. We do website design, hosting, Google Ads, and SEO. You can check us out at northshore.digital. Today, I'm going to dive right in. I'll be talking about the four key components of Google Ads. So basically, four things about Google Ads that are vital to set up for a high-performing campaign. And I'm going to take you through our ads account, our analytics account, and a little bit of our website to kind of show some of the configurations. But I'm not going to dive into too much detail, so it'll be more of an overview. So to start things out, we're in our ads account here. And so basically when you're setting up a campaign, the first thing that you want to do that's essential is configuring your conversions. So the bottom line of your business is getting leads and revenue. And so if you're not tracking that in your ads account or in your analytics, you have no idea of where those leads or sales are coming from. And even if you can see that they're coming from Google Ads, you want to know which keyword, which ad copy, which ad group, and what targeting actually produced those leads. So you can get more of that and get less of the bad stuff out or the poor performers out. So configuring conversion tracking is probably the most bypassed and easiest mistake that we see a lot of clients make. So I'm going to take you through a few steps that we take clients through that you can try out on your own to configure your conversions and start tracking metrics that actually matter to your business. So the first thing you want to do is just have a little bit of a brainstorm and ensure that you are measuring online actions that matter. So for most people, if you're a lead generation company, these would be things like clicking on your email links, submitting an inquiry form, clicking an inquiry button, phoning your business. So these are actions that are hard leads that could lead to sales for your business. And then on your business end, so if you have a CRM or something, you'll have an idea of how often different leads convert. So maybe emails are a little less valuable than an inquiry form submission or a phone call, or it could be vice versa, depending on your business. So over time, you can start to even add value to each of those conversion actions. And then actually put that value into Google Ads. That's another video for another time. But at least getting those basic conversions down is a great start for your business. So really brainstorm and figure out what actions online are valuable for your business and that you would count as leads. So the next thing to do is make sure your Google Analytics is synced up with your website. Now, there are other analytics platforms that you can sync and measure, but Google Analytics is absolutely the best for Google Ads, so we highly recommend it. So how you can do this is I'm just going to pop into our analytics account here. And you can see this little gearbox at the bottom. You can click on that. You can go to conversion. Click on that. And go over here to tracking info, and you can get your code that you can add to your website. Now, depending on what website CMS you're using, this code can be placed on your website in a number of different ways. So if you're using WordPress, for instance, there's a ton of Google Analytics plugins where you can just kind of pop the tracking code ID in there rather than the JavaScript code, and that will pick it up. Or you can have your website developer place the code in the header and body of your website, and that'll pick up as well. So depending on what website you're using, there's a couple different ways that you can do that. And so once you've got that in there, then your Google Analytics is synced with your website, and you can start to track behavior that happens on your website. So that's essential if you want to track conversions in Google Ads. The third step to do is just making sure you're syncing Google Analytics with your ads account. So I'm going to show you how to do that in our account. So up top here, you can't quite see it as a tools and settings. So it kind of brings down these options. So I'm going to go over to the setup and go over to linked accounts. And then in linked accounts, there's an option for Google Analytics. So if you click details and kind of dive into that, it'll allow you to link your Google Analytics account. So let's just backtrack a little bit here. All right, so now you have your Google Analytics synced with your ads and synced with your CMS. Now it's time to turn on conversion actions. So this can be a little bit trickier to do. So basically what you want to do is take those conversion actions that you brainstormed earlier. So somebody say submitting an inquiry form on your website, and turn those into events in Google Analytics. So basically Google Analytics will be picking up that form submission as an event. And again, there's a couple different ways you can do this. If you have a WordPress platform, again, it's probably the most popular that we work with. You can use a plugin called GA-in-WP. So what that does is that will automatically track every single event that happens on your website and then send it as an event to Google Analytics. Then all you have to do in Analytics is turn that event into a goal. So that's an easier way to do that. If you have a different platform, Google Tag Manager is really good as well. So Google Tag Manager, you can set up triggers and tags. Depending on something that happens on your website, it'll trigger one of those tags, which is an event in Analytics. So basically, you're just looking to create events in Analytics and then turn those into goals. So turning an event into a goal in Analytics is pretty easy once the event is tracking. You just go into your Analytics account. You can see kind of goals over here. We have a few goals already set up, and they're based on events. So let's go to this email sent. So that would be somebody clicking on the email button. So we've selected custom. We've named our goal. It's an event. And then basically this email send is the event that we're reading in Analytics. So once you've set up your Google Tag Manager or your GA-in-WP, if you're using WordPress, you can see the event as category email action send, and then you can just configure that as a goal. So the next thing you want to do is test your goals to make sure they've set up properly. Now, Google has a verify this goal button down here, and it'll show you a conversion. But here I'm seeing, oh, I didn't have a conversion rate. And that just might be because somebody hasn't sent an email in the last 7 days. So we want to make sure that that's triggering. So what we do is go to real time, go to conversions. You can see these are all the conversion goals that we have set up. And so Google Analytics has a bit of a turnaround for reporting data, but this real time is super handy because you can see within a 30-minute window everything that's happening in real time. So I'm over here on our contact page for North Shore Digital, and I'm just going to try out my conversion goal of a form submission. So I'm just going to put my name as test, email. We're just going to put test. We have a CAPTCHA here. I highly recommend these to filter out spam. And then I'm going to send that. Now, there's a way to create particularly form submission goals by, instead of having a send button, just register. You see it said, thank you for message, it has been sent. You can redirect to a landing page or a thank you page. And that's what Google Analytics will prompt you to do when you're setting up goals. Now, more modern website design quite often doesn't do that. So you will have to go in and use a plugin like GA-in-WP, use custom coding, use Google Tag Manager to set up your events. So I'll go back to Analytics and I can see, yep, I see that event has happened, form submission has happened, registered once. Great, so that goal's tracking. Now the final step in conversion tracking is to go back into your ads account, go to that tools and setting, go to measurement this time, go to conversions, and then you're going to click on this little blue plus button to add a new conversion, and then import. So you're wanting to import this conversion data, so your conversion goal you've set up in Google Analytics from Analytics. So you're going to click on import, Google Analytics, continue. And then right now, I'm not seeing this conversion event because we've already imported it, but it would be there. So the second component you want to get right in Google Ads is making sure you have your keywords dialed in. You want to get your keywords right. So keywords are really at the heart of the Google search engine, and it's vital to get this campaign component correct. The bottom line is basically creating a keyword mix that's driving relevant search terms for your business, campaigns, and ad groups to create higher conversion rates and a lower cost per conversion, which will lead to a higher ROI. Now, before I go into some steps that are important to get your keywords right that everybody can take, I'll just kind of describe the distinction between search terms and keywords, because you'll see these reports in your Google Ads account. You might hear them as well. So a keyword is something that you will set in your Google Ads account, and you'll set certain parameters around the keyword to trigger an ad depending on the search term. Now, these parameters are match types, and there's 4 different match types, which I'll talk about a little bit later. A search term is the exact search that somebody's written into the Google search engine. So whereas a keyword might be something like basketballs for sale, a search term that's triggered by that keyword, that's triggering an ad, might be something like, I would like to know the closest blue basketball sale near me. So you can see that they can differ a lot. And the search terms that are going to bring up your ads are related to the match types you use for your keywords. So I'll get into match types a little bit later, but the first thing to do for setting up a great keyword list is to set it up correctly from the start, so you're not triggering irrelevant searches for your business. So the first thing that I would do is do your research. You may think you know how people are searching for your company, but you can be very surprised, and we frequently are with clients. So the best thing the best tool at your disposal if you're already running Google Ads is something called the Google Ads Keyword Planner. So again, if you go over to your handy tools and settings, and you can go down to the very bottom to planning, you can see Keyword Planner. And so this is super handy, basically for discovering new keywords and historical metrics. So you can kind of look at what search volumes, competition, costs of keywords, because something you were thinking about using might have just a very low search volume or a very high cost per click. So you might not want to use it. As well, you can look at kind of the competition for keywords. Generally speaking, a medium or high competition isn't a bad thing. It just means that that keyword has been found valuable by other advertisers. So that's a great place to start. It'll not only kind of verify keywords you've already chosen, it will give you more kind of long-tailed iterations and different ideas for keywords that you can start with. So the second thing you want to do is you want to organize your keywords around a specific ad group. And so I'm going to dive into one of our ad groups. So I've just got specific, let's go Google Ads General. And so this is an ad group specific to Google Ads. So you can see kind of all our metrics here. And you can see that the keywords that we've used are closely related to pay-per-click or Google advertising. So those are the only keywords that we've used. So ad groups are meant to group by theme, service, or product. So when you're setting up keywords, just always have that on your mind. And why this is it creates relevancy for the searcher, so that if somebody's searching for a Google Ads agency, I have my ad group organized by Google Ads keywords, and only Google Ads themed ads. So if somebody searches for that, they're going to see an ad for Google Ads and not web design and not hosting or other services. And then when they click on that, they're going to go to our Google Ads page. So that creates something that's very specific to their search, which not only makes it more relevant and useful for them, it also helps you because conversion rates are going to be higher. Your quality score is going to go up as well because relevance is a factor in quality score. And then that's going to bring price down, which will further help your cost per lead and ROI for the campaign. So that's the first thing, organized by ad group. Or sorry, second thing after you've done your research. The next thing is just minding your match types. So you can see here, this is a broad match modified keyword group. So all those little plus signs next to it are broad match modified. So I'll just talk briefly about the match types and what search terms you might expect for match types. But they're really important to get right. So it goes from broad match to phrase match, broad match modified, and exact match. So basically what these mean is if you set up a broad match search keyword, which is the default for Google Ads, it's going to trigger search terms that are loosely related to that broad match keyword. So they can be synonyms, there can be long tail keywords. So what we found is generally clients will start with broad match because they're not tinkering around with match types, and they'll get a ton of irrelevant searches for their campaign because they might have a keyword such as basketball or ball or sports camp or something like that. And they want to advertise their basketball camp. And they're going to trigger a search term for baseball camp or even just summer camp. So that's, where it might be loosely related to what they're trying to do. They're not going to get a high click-through rate, and they're probably not going to get many conversions if somebody's searching for something that's totally different from their business. So we err on the side of caution. We don't use broad match too often, but there are ways in which you can use broad match. So you can use broad match, but target really specifically with audiences or locations. So that's a way you can do it. You can use it for, just general brand recognition. So, if you're a new smoothie company or something in town, you can use a broad match keyword smoothie, and it might bring up something like a juice drink or something unrelated, something that you don't sell, but you kind of want people to be aware that you're new. So those are a couple ways in which you can use broad match, but generally you want to be a little more specific. So broad match modifier is something that it isn't a default in Google Ads. You have to add it yourself with this little plus next to it. So if you look at this keyword, it's Google AdWords agency. And I put a plus next to each word. And so what that will do is it's telling Google that the search term must include Google, must include AdWords, must include agency. It can include other things, and it can be in any order. So if somebody puts, I want AdWords agency that focuses on Google or something like that, that would actually trigger this. Even though they're out of order, it's included these three terms. The next one is called phrase match. Now, phrase match you can create by putting quotation marks. So if I put a quotation mark before Google and I wrote Google AdWords agency and put a quotation mark after, same thing. They must include those words, but they have to include them in that order. So if somebody used that same search term before AdWords agency that relates to Google or that specializes in Google, that wouldn't trigger. But if they put in, I want to find a great Google AdWords agency near me, then that would trigger an ad. Now, the final match type is called exact match. And that's created by putting brackets around the keyword. So if I put brackets around Google AdWords agency and somebody typed in Google AdWords agency near me using exact match, it would not trigger an ad. So you can see exact match can be a little stifling to campaigns sometimes, but there is definitely a place for it. So just to be aware that match types are important, and they run from all the way from broad, which is very kind of loosely related, to exact matches, which is your keyword is going to be the search term or a close variant of it. So final step in getting your keywords right and dialed in is regularly auditing and pruning your keywords. Two really good ways to do this are to go to your search term report. So these aren't your keywords. These are actual exact searches. And kind of go through and I can see pay per click agency. Somebody's actually spelt out pay per click. They didn't put PPC. I don't actually have this as a keyword. And that person clicked, not only did they click through, they converted. So this conversion could have been a form submission or a phone call. They converted to a potential client. So this is something that I definitely want to add to my campaign. And how I can do that is I'll click on the button, put add as keyword. And then you can see here it's automatically been set for broad match. I don't want that. I'm going to make this one a phrase match keyword and save. Now that's been added to my campaign. You can see I've added a couple more here. PPC agency near me, PPC services. Here are 2 other searches for this ad group. I haven't added these yet, but I could do. So that's great. Adding high converting keywords. The next one is to go through your search keywords report. Filter by click-through rate. And I can see, so this PPC services had a poor quality score, had kind of a bad click-through rate. I might want to pause this. There's some others here that have 0 click-through rate, but I can see, they're not really getting too many impressions. So I'm going to let those run and see how they play out. So basically you're pausing poor performers and creating iterations of high performers, or looking at your search term report and adding in new keywords. Now the final one is negative keywords. I'm kind of scrolling through my search terms and I didn't see anything, that is very irrelevant to our business. But I might see something in here that says, setting up a Facebook advertising account. Maybe I put advertising as a broad match keyword. So I might want to put a negative keyword of Facebook. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to eliminate or not show my ads for that broad term where I used where somebody used Facebook in their search. And that can be valuable for large campaigns to increase your click-through rate, increase relevance. So you're going to lower cost and then increase your conversion rate. So negative keywords, gradually building a negative keyword list can be really important for your campaign. And so that's how you'd audit and prune your keywords. So the third component of your Google Ads account that you want to get right is your targeting. So you can target a ton of different components in your ads account. So those include location, time of day, audience, device, and even the language. Now I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but these you can go into deep detail and are really important because kind of once you've found your niche, and you might have an idea of your audience as well, you can see amazing benefits on increasing your conversion rate 3, 4, 5, 10 times. So these are really important to get right and observe and improve over time. So I'm just going to go into kind of the main ones. The first is location. Now you can actually set up location as part of your campaign setup. So I'm in ad groups right now. So location cannot be set on an ad group level. You can see it's not in there. So I'm going to go back to my campaign, and you can see it's popped up. So I'm targeting specific cities in British Columbia, Canada. And the reason why I'm doing that rather than say targeting by radius or country or province or something like that is because I want a little more granularity of data. So there's a few regions in Vancouver that are their own municipalities that I've targeted. So you can see Abbotsford comes up here right away. I've also looked at Burnaby, Chilliwack, Coquitlam. So instead of putting the Lower Mainland or Greater Vancouver, why I've chosen to do it this way is so when I see my data report, I can see it on this municipal level and say, oh, wow, Abbotsford is performing great compared to Burnaby. Let's bid a little higher. Let's target or create a specific Abbotsford campaign. So you don't have to do that way. You can just pick one region or one radius, or you can get even more granular and target on the postal code level. So within Abbotsford, I can say, I want to pick these 10 postal codes and target them so I can really regionally target. And if your product or service is dependent on segmenting by very specific regions, that might be a great strategy for you. But definitely make sure you do target specific locations, or else your ads are just going to show everywhere, and it's going to be a very general campaign and not very relevant. Now, another thing you want to get right is location options. So there's 3 different options here. The first is people in or show interest in your targeted locations. You notice I didn't select that. The reason why is somebody who's shown interest in Vancouver doesn't necessarily own or live or have a business in Vancouver. And those are the people we want. So I've selected people in or regularly in your targeted location. So people who live in Vancouver or any of my municipal locations up there. And the final one is people searching for your targeted locations. So that's definitely not relevant. That's just somebody searching, maybe real estate or something in Vancouver, and they don't live in Vancouver. So I haven't targeted that. Generally speaking, this middle one, people in or regularly in your targeted locations, is what you want to go after. This one, people in or show interest in your targeted locations, that can work as well. That's the recommended default, and that's what it's going to be set to if you don't click on this location options arrow. So that can be good as well, but I like to go with this so I can get very targeted. So those are locations. The next thing I want to make sure I get right for targeting is ad schedule. Now you can see here I've set my ad schedule for every day of the week, and I've set it between basically working hours, a couple hours before we open and a couple hours after we close. I want it to be a little bit more broad. And then you can look at, where are you getting your best kind of click-through rates? Where are you getting your most conversion? So, I'm only looking at a campaign that had 1 conversion, but I might look here and say, wow, Tuesdays are when my ads do really well. This is when I want to show it, or between certain times. And you can look at your hour of day as well. So, when are you getting your clicks? When are you getting your conversions? What hour of the day, and what day of the week as well. So I would look at this day of the week report, this hour of the day report, and then set your ad schedule accordingly. And then just revisit that maybe once a month or so, and just see what's converting and when. And then you can adjust your bid, or you can just target days specifically. So time and day is really important. That can be found under the ad schedule tab. The next one is audience. And you might have heard of remarketing, which is basically targeting audiences that have already taken an action or visited your website or interacted with your brand. Now that's another video for another day, but you can also target specific audiences in market segments, affinity audiences, and detailed demographic audiences. So you can see here, I've set all these audiences to a targeting setting called observation. So it's basically taking everybody who clicks on my ads and then after the fact splitting them up into data groups and saying, business services, SEO and SEM services, this is an in-market segment. So in-market means people who are in the market for something. They're actively researching something. These people clicked and converted super well, 100% click-through rate. Everybody from this group who saw our ads clicked on them. And then the next one is business professionals. 10% of people who saw ads clicked on them. So I can go here and I can say, wow, this is performing super well after I've observed it for a bit. I'm going to target this specifically. So getting audiences and perhaps starting with observation and then moving more towards targeting as you get more of this data is a great way to get a better conversion rate and ROI for your campaign. And there's a lot you can do with audiences, but I'll leave that for now. The next is devices. So you can target by device. So I'm kind of looking here and I see computers, mobile phones, tablets. Those are the 3 device options. I can see, I'm getting even though I got less clicks for mobile phone, I'm getting a higher click-through rate. Plus that's where my conversion happened. So I might say, let's bid a little higher. I'm going to increase my bid by 20% for phones. Or I might want to just lower the bid adjustment for computers. So I might want to decrease it by 20% instead of increasing mobile phones. So that's a way you can get specific with devices. And if you're a company that wants to exclusively target mobile phones or exclusively target Vancouver or computers, you can adjust that by 100% to just eliminate it. So decrease your bid adjustment by 100%. The final targeting option that not a lot of people think about is language. And this is done at the when you're setting up your campaign, or you can go back in after. So we have it set to English, but you can enter any language. So French is a default for Canada. So English and French will come up. Now, language is set at the browser settings. So depending on where you're from, so say you were from maybe Arizona or New Mexico, where they have a large Hispanic population, you might want to add in Spanish. You don't have to set your keywords to Spanish, but anybody who has a browser setting that's defaulted to Spanish will now see your ads, which could be really important regionally. Or if you're targeting kind of multiple locations, you might want to consider this and even create custom campaigns that have different languages. If you want to get super detailed, you can use keywords in those specific languages, but you'll have to know or have a translator to help you out with that. So the final component of Google Ads that you want to get right is you want to be data driven. You want to test and retest and iterate and improve your campaign. Google Ads is an amazing testing playground. I love the amount of data you can get back and iterate and improve upon. And I'm going to give you a couple ideas for how you can use this. The first one we talked about earlier, and that's pruning your keywords. So that's going into your search terms, your keyword report, and creating negative keyword lists, creating more iterations of high performing keywords, using high performing search terms as keywords, and pausing or deleting poor performers. This is something that you definitely want to do regularly, and it's going to improve your click-through rate and conversion rate for your campaign and make it perform better overall. The next step you want to take for testing and using data in Google Ads is to split test your ads. It might sound complicated, but it's actually quite easy to do. So I'm going to go in and I've gone into a campaign here. I prefer to go into to an ad group. I only have one ad group in this campaign, so it would have worked either way. So I'm in the ad group now. I'm going to check out my ads in that ad group. I can see I have 5 ads in this ad group, which is a good number of ads to test. I recommend testing between 3 to 5. And I've sorted by click-through rate. And I can see, wow, look at the click-through rate on this one ad. Click-through rate on this one is pretty good. And then I'm seeing maybe poor performance, especially on this one that had a lot of impressions but not any clicks. So what I would do to split test is simply pause the poorest performer and then create another version of the high performer. So in this case, this would be fairly easy to do because this is the only responsive ad, and it's performing quite well. So I'd maybe create another responsive ad. pause this one. You always want to be kind of having a little contest where you have a winning ad and you're trying to kind of bump that off its throne. So that's how I think about it for ad split testing. The next thing you can do is split test audiences. And so what I do here is, if you have a little bit more time, I build different ad groups that are targeting different audiences and then test how those ad groups perform. Another way to do that is just to do this observation setting. But it's a little bit better if you're actually targeting, because that's the real data you're getting, and you might want to target audiences with different ad language as well. So if I'm targeting business professionals, I might want to speak to business professionals. If I'm targeting advertising, marketing, or kind of web people in the market for web design, I might want to speak to them in a different way. So that's another way you can test. You can go through all your different audience specific ad groups and see which ones are winning and which ones are performing poorly, and then adjust and iterate on that. So that's going to give you better click-through rates and conversion rates as well. And the final thing I would do based on data is to go back into all those targeting areas. So audiences, locations, keywords, everything you can think of in your account. And you can almost always use this bid adjustment area. And so just adjust bids a little bit up for things that are performing really well, a little bit down for those that aren't, or completely eliminate, very poor performers and create more iterations of super high performers. And so just being in that mindset of you're wanting to expand and grow things that are performing well based on the data that you're getting back from Google Ads, and eliminate things that are performing poorly. Over time, you're going to grow your Google Ads account, which can be a great asset for your business, and you're going to see some amazing performance. So those are the 4 key components to get right in Google Ads. I didn't talk about a lot of Google Ads stuff. Hopefully I can target it in future videos. I didn't talk a lot about testing headlines or ad copy as well, which is something that's important, but we can't cover it all. So if you have limited time and you want to make sure that 80% of your account is performing well and you're doing things by the book, make sure your conversions are configured properly, get your keywords right, set your targeting, and test and iterate based on the data that you're getting. Be data driven. Now again, at northshore.digital, I've created a blog based on this video that kind of takes you through it step by step. So if you're wanting to set up anything for yourself, that's a great way to do it. Or you can check out our website as well, northshore.digital, and kind of browse the services that we offer for Google Ads management. So we'll do all of this for you if you're a busy business owner and you don't want to set it up all by yourself. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.